Okay, now we're going to attempt to find Nemo in Illustrator. Okay, so let's start with a new empty project, file, new. Again, doesn't matter what size, hit create, and we'll go file, place. And this came up in class, how to place it. Let me show you real quick. So I'll grab Finding Nemo here. We'll hit place. Again, I'll make sure to put this in Moodle. Okay, and with that in place, let's go to the layer palette right here, and let's go ahead and lock this layer. So hit this down arrow and hit the lock icon right next to this. Okay, and then we also have this background we're gonna just take an image and use that in ours. So we'll place another one. We'll go File, Place, and then we've got this specular water picture we'll place down here. Then we can go ahead and scale this up with the E hotkey, and you can hold down Shift to have proportional scale. As you can see, this is pretty large, so we could crank this size way up. But don't worry about it too much. It's not super important. I'll hit enter. And what we can do is blur this out, because you can see it's kind of blurred there. Effect, blur, Gaussian blur. And then you can just crank that up. I don't know, something like that. Or even more. It's not super important, probably not that much. All right, we'll do that. I'll hit OK. And then let's actually use the pen tool to do some of this. So what we're going to do is start with the pen tool here. I'll zoom in, and why don't we do these shapes real quick, because they're very easy and we can trace them extremely quickly. Now remember how to fix this. We can go to the appearance panel and we can change the opacity so we can kind of see what we're doing, and then we could finish this off. Okay, and then we can go to the next one. Just crank through these. Just changing the opacity again. Don't worry if you're not getting this perfect. If anything, this is giving you a chance to practice with the pen tool. And then this shape right here, I'm not going to try to do it with the pen tool. You definitely could, but instead I'm just going to go to the shape tool here, do ellipse, drag it out, and I can use the space bar to move it around, and I can scale it kind of not quite proportionally, and we'll cut out everything we're not going to use here, but we're just going to try to get our shape pretty close to it. And of course we're not going to want a stroke on that, and there we go. Okay, and then we'll do this with the pen tool as well. Let me go ahead and change the opacity on this so I can see through it for right now. We'll fix all that later, and we can even reshape this using the direct selection tool in a second. I just wanted to draw out the major shapes with the pen tool real quick. So let's go ahead and crank this out right here. Now this is going to be somewhat complicated. Try your best and maybe undo. So where exactly do I put the next one? Well, I just try to play it by experience. What I mean by that is I've done this a lot, so I kind of get a feel for it. You know, I'm not a master of the pen tool, but I'm pretty good. So again, until I finish this shape out, you're going to have it try to cut across the 2 points. Don't worry. So what I want to do here is hit the Alt key and then start over again. And that will give me a fresh start on the curve so it doesn't kind of warp out. Again, I know that this is kind of complicated, and I use the space bar again to move this around. It's very much like the Photoshop pen tool, but it's super fast and powerful for what I'm doing here. And then I'll try to curve this around and then end it like that. Okay, so now it's not perfect again, but it's pretty close, and I did it very quickly with the pen tool. Keep in mind you have to use spacebar to move it around. You may have to undo. It is complicated, I get that. It's definitely a professional tool, but if you can master it, you'll go very far. That would be super cool. So anyway, I can go in and fix some of these points with the direct selection tool. Maybe I want to fix this curve just a little bit here. Smooth it out a bit. And then of course on this object over here, I want to change these curves to match better the real shape that we've got going on here. You don't have to get this perfect, but the more design-centric your mind is, the more you'll want to kind of perfect this. So now I've got this shape, and I want to fix it real quick. So again, using tools we've used before, I'll use the pen tool here, and I will kind of drag through this shape like so. All I'm going to use, I'm just going to take this shape and cut out kind of that bite mark here under there. So I select both these shapes, I go to my shape builder tool, and I just use the negative tool to cut it like that. Okay, super cool stuff. Now we need to increase the opacity on this, but first let's go ahead and do this cutout of a fish. Again, pen tool. You guys could even make this your own. You could kind of give it more like that. You know, do what you want here. I'm going to give it a mouth because I think that that's better that way, obviously. And then like we did before, we'll finish it off like that. And of course I want to give it an eye as well, like an evil eye, like so, a triangle angry eye. Now with all of this selected, I can use the shape builder tool again to delete that, and then I can select both these objects, shape builder tool, and I can cut this out like so. There it is. Cool, cool, cool. Now we just want to fix the opacity on these, so we'll go ahead and crank those back up, selecting all of them and fixing the opacity. We're getting there, we're almost done. We need to remove the strokes from these, obviously. So all of those, we don't want to have a stroke on them. And what we could do to speed this up, I'll just show you a little tool tip. So you can select this, and then you can go here and just select that one, right? So with these shapes selected, you can just select a shape and get its color scheme right off it with this sampler tool. All right, so we're almost there. We've got our shapes cut out. Pretty cool. It's not 100% perfect. You know, there is kind of a curve here or whatever. But this, we can actually use a font, and I'm not going to try to find that exact font. I'm just going to try to match it. I'm not super worried. So I'll go ahead and click down here, and I'll type out finding all in caps. And we will use the E key to scale this up. I'm not going to worry about it being proportional necessarily. I just want to get it somewhat close. Let's go ahead and double click on this. With the select key here, we can double click on this and we can change the font to something maybe thicker. So I'll go in here and I'll look for something that's, oh, that looks good. Arbotech Ultra. I'll go ahead and use that. Looks close enough. And then I want to show you, we showed you, well, I guess that's not very good right there. That F definitely doesn't look good, but whatever. We're making it our own, not super important. What I want to show you guys is actually tracking. We showed you kerning in the last one, and that's the distance between two characters. Tracking is the distance between all of them. So we're gonna crank our tracking on this. So if we go over here, we have this right here, and this will change our tracking. You see how they're all moving now when I do that? And we're just going to bring them all a little bit closer together, like so. And there's the finding. I will go ahead and scale this up with the E key a little bit to make it match a bit better, and then scale it down some. Trying to get it as close as I can. Again, I'm not super worried. I just want the overall concept. And again, I'll go white on that. Not extremely important, but now we have one last thing to do, and that is to actually use this color down here on the Finding Nemo. So I'll select all of my stuff here, and since I've locked it, I can just lasso select it, and I'll move it down here, like so. Just a couple more things, and we're going to go ahead and create a clipping mask with this shape to cut this background into the text, kind of like what we did with Photoshop. So I'll go ahead and show you how that's done. Now first, what we need to do is make a compound path. We need to change this text into a path, so object, and we need to expand the path, like so. And then we're going to select all of this right here, including that and this. We're going to go object, compound path, and make. That means we're just going to make this all kind of one object so that when we use a clipping mask, they all cut instead of just one. So next, all we have to do is select the background and all of this. So we'll make this a group. Let me show you what's happening in the layer panel. All right, so I'm going to select all of that content right there, So all this is now a compound path that we've created. Notice it's just one layer here. It's not all of these letters and stuff like it would have normally done. So if I undid what I just did there and we showed you in the layer panel, I'll show you what that looks like again. All right, so you see there's like tons of different stuff here. And then when we went and made it a compound path, so object compound path make, it's going to get rid of all that and it's all going to become one little object in here, okay? That's useful for us now because now we can select both of these, shift select them, go object, clipping mask, make. Okay, real quick, so I have both of these shifts selected, but you see this little bright blue icon right here? I'm gonna get an error here in a second, watch. Even though they're both selected, I go object, clipping mask, make, it's gonna give me an error. It's because I actually have to shift select this as well. So I have to have both of these, and there indicates selected art, okay? I know it's very weird. I kind of think Illustrator is complicated because of this, because even though that's not selected, these things are also selection markers. Very confusing. I don't know why they designed it that way. I think it's kind of poor design, but just keep in mind if this dark blue icon is not here, it's not actually selected. So now with both these and that dark blue icon, I can go object, clipping mask, make, and there it is, Finding Nemo. So one last final touch is we need to add the drop shadow in. So let's go ahead and select our compound path here, effect, stylize, and drop shadow. Again, I want to take the blur way down here to maybe 0.01, I don't know, something like that. And you can change the opacity, you can change it from multiply. That's still a little bit too big on the Y offset, it looks like. So tweak these numbers, 0.06 maybe. Again, kind of tedious, but there it is. Finding Nemo in all its glory. Hope you had fun with that one. I'll see you in the next one.